All right, so my goal is while I'm here is to make you guys understand that everybody is not created equal. I know we know that, but when we take a look back and self-assess ourselves, how do we treat the people that are underserved and maybe not on the even playing field? So I hope by the end of my speech that you guys have a better understanding for the people that we don't always communicate with every day, kind of be more not sympathetic, but more empathetic to the ones that are less fortunate. So I'm going to get right into my story. I'm sorry. Good. All right, I'm gonna hold it right here. Okay, so I was born Baton Rouge, Louisiana in 1978. And I was born to a group of parents that many people would probably say should not have been having kids. My mom was only 15 years old. My dad was 19 years old. And they were very immature, and they were babies having babies. And they made mistakes, and I'm what you would call a product of an extramarital affair. My mom cheated on my dad. I know we're all adults, I'm gonna break it down anyway. My mom cheated on my dad, and I was a product of that extramarital affair. And obviously my dad, being a man, didn't want to stick around for that, so he left. My mom, there was 3 brothers, I was the youngest of 3. He took my older 2 brothers, they moved to a separate house, and I stayed behind with my mom. Now my mom, she came from a very, very nice household, church-going family, very respectable in the community, but she was a wild child. She was the black sheep of the family. She got in trouble, she marched to a beat of her own drum, and she did it very well. So, story has it, one night my mom, being the wild child that she is, wanted to go out and have fun with her friends at a club, which I understand. But she couldn't find a babysitter that night. And instead of her doing the responsible thing that we would most all do with our kids, stay home and watch our own kids and not even go out, she took me to the club with her that night and left me in the car by myself. And I was asleep at the time, and I woke up, and I just remember that feeling alone. You know, I'm 3 years old at the time. I opened my eyes, and there's nobody there. She left some food in there for me and had a blanket or something. I remember it being hot as hell, and nobody was there. And I started bawling. I'm only 3 years old, so I'm crying. And Baton Rouge is a very, very small town. Everybody knows everybody. So as ongoers are going to the club, they're going in, they're saying, well, Jackie, your son's outside in the car crying. Are you going to go see about him? She never came out. But the man that I know as my father today, they called him. He came that night, picked me up from the club, and that would be the last night that I would see my mom for years to come. So I know what you guys are thinking. What a great man. He's got to be an awesome guy. He took on the responsibility of a child that he knew was not his. It takes a strong, powerful man to be able to do that, to look past the fact that this is not his son, but he still stepped in. And I agree with you 100%. Sometimes I reflect back, could I have done that? If my wife had stepped out on our marriage and had a baby with somebody else, could I look past that and on top of that take care of that child? I don't think I could do that. But he did it. But my father, he didn't have a very good role model growing up. He had a 6th grade education. He did the best he could. And what I don't want you guys to think is when I'm talking about my parents, I don't want you to think that I'm bashing them and talking bad about them, because that's not the point of this. The point is that parents make bad decisions and kids are the ones that suffer, period. I don't want you to think that my parents are bad. They were young, they made mistakes, and now that I'm older, I got over the anger of that. I was upset for a long time because I couldn't understand how could they do some of the things that they've done. But they just didn't know any better. They were young, they were kids having kids. So my father, the man as I know as my father, took me in, but his methods of parenting were so unorthodox that it was more detrimental than helpful to my upbringing. And sometimes I wonder what would have happened if he would have just left me in that car. If he never came and picked me up. Sorry. would I have turned out differently? Would I have had the experiences that I've had in my life? Or not? I don't know, but I'm grateful for him for doing it. But he was he was physically abusive. He was a womanizer. And I'm not talking bad about it. I'm just painting you guys a picture. And he was, with a 6th grade education, there's not a lot of jobs out there for somebody with a 6th grade education. So he resorted to selling drugs. That's what he had to do to survive and keep me and my brothers heads above water. And I understand that. I don't judge him for that. Because in the community that I work in now, I see it every day. And if I didn't have that experience in my life, I would not be able to sympathize with those families that are doing the same thing to take care of their kids. So I got a chance to see that and be able to understand how somebody can make those decisions in their life that can affect their whole family. But if that's the only thing they know how to do to protect and to provide for their family, I totally get it. Okay. Last part about my father, then I'll move on. This is important. My dad has struggled with a drug problem since the age of 23. And in the 70s, when I was born, that's what everybody did. Everybody did drugs in the 70s. Doesn't matter if you're black, you're white, everybody experienced with drugs. It was just what they were doing. He just happened to be one of the ones that got hooked. And it was a blessing, but a curse at the same time. I say that because the reason why we ended up in Iowa City in 1989 because my father realized that he had a drug problem that was getting out of control and something needed to be done. So we moved to Iowa City in 1989 so my father can attend a drug rehab called Mecca. I don't know if it's still here or not, but it's called Mecca. And when I moved to Iowa City from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, it was a total culture shock. We've heard all these horror stories about white people. White people want to do this. White people will do that. White people, it was all negative stuff. I was terrified. It was 9% black in 1989. It was nothing like it looks now. I didn't relate to anybody. I didn't fit in with anybody. The white kids didn't accept me because I didn't look like them. The black kids didn't accept me because I didn't talk like them. I had a Louisiana twang when I came here. I was diagnosed with a learning disability when I got here, and I was in those damn special classes where your friends are going to regular classes and they see me in the special class. So they made fun of me because of that. I just didn't fit in. I tried and I tried and I tried. I didn't fit in. Except for a group of guys that now I loosely use the term friends because now that I know better, I say friends because they were the ones that accepted me then. But friends are the ones that make sure that you keep your nose clean. They make sure you stay out of trouble. Those weren't the friends that I had. I came from an environment where it was a rough, drug-infested environment, but I had a rock and my grandmother that showed me right from wrong. Grandmothers always know right from wrong. Grandmothers are the pillar of our community. So I knew better, but I let these guys convince me that fighting, stealing, all the things that I knew better, I let them convince me that that was the cool thing to do because I wanted to fit in with somebody. I'm in 6th grade. Who doesn't want to feel a part of something in 6th grade? Who doesn't want to feel like they're accepted? And when you're not accepted and somebody finally accepts you, who's not going to jump on that regardless of what they're doing? You just want to be a part of it. And I just wanted to be a part of something. Those were my new friends in Iowa. But like I said, I knew better. But it came to a head one night, downtown Iowa City, and back 94, 95-ish, I think if anybody was around, downtown was a much different scene than what it is now. I had no curfew. I could stay out all night long on a school night if I wanted to. My parents were so out of it, they didn't know where I was. This particular night, we're downtown Iowa City. Me and a group of my friends, we called ourselves the 8-Ball Posse. First gang ever in Iowa City, and I'm not proud of it, but I am. So they still talk about it to this day. So we're downtown, college students everywhere. I let my mouth get me in trouble. I talked crap to the wrong guy. This guy was huge, but that's just what we did. He must have been drinking, or he must have been feeling some type of way that night. He stopped dead in his tracks, turned around, and he was approaching me. And now I realize, okay, I'm gonna either have to fight this guy, or I'm gonna have to run. And I'm in 6th grade. And if he wasn't every bit of 6'1", 6'2", football player, maybe, that size, I was gonna have to take him on. But as he got closer, he got bigger. And I'm like, okay, so my fight or flight mode kicks in. And I'm like, okay, I can't fight him, but I can't run because my friends are gonna call me a sissy. They're gonna talk about me. I gotta impress my friends, right? So I stood there, and as he's getting closer, my heart is beating, jumping out of my shirt, I'm sure it was. And as he's approaching me, what he didn't know, 2 months prior to this, Christmas break, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, I stole my grandmother's handgun. I stole it. Nobody knew where it was. She asked about it. Nobody ever would suspect me. That's not my personality. I'm not the kind of kid that would steal a gun, but I had it. And that night, it was in my waistline. As he's approaching me, heart's beating fast, I pulled the gun out. I pointed right at his head. And before I knew it, I pulled the trigger. Click. Nothing happened. I pulled it 2 more times. Click, click. The gun had no bullets in it. I stole a gun with no bullets. That decision that night could have landed me in a predicament where I would not be standing up here today. I would not be able to share my story with the kids that I work with. I was being selfish. That night would have ruined my life, my family's life, because they're going to have to deal with a 13-year-old kid that's committed murder and knows nothing about the criminal justice system but trying to fit in with a crowd of people that he knows nothing about. Not only my family, the family of the young man that I was about to shoot in the head. What happens to his family? They're grieving the loss of their loved one for the rest of their life because a 13-year-old kid got a gun in his hand and thought it was cool to shoot somebody. Doesn't happen that way. There's consequences. And we use these lessons when we work with the kids that we work with in Houston and Iowa City. You can't do things and expect there's not going to be a consequence. Yeah, sometimes there's good things and bad things that happen depending on your actions, but you have to know that there's consequences for your actions, and you have to be held accountable for that. I escaped that night. I easily could have still been in jail today. Just another guy with a great story sitting behind the bars, in jail. That could have been my life. I decided that night, as hard as it was, I have to pick better friends. People have been telling me for months and months, this is my last strike. I'm on probation. I'm going down to the courthouse once a week, every Tuesday, to see my probation officer, and I hated it. That's not me. That was never me. I was never raised that way. But now I'm here. I'm in that position. What are you going to do? What am I going to do about it? I'm going to drop my friends, number one. My friends. My quote-unquote friends. But like I say, it's the hardest thing for me to do because those are the guys that embraced me when I got here. But I realized that they weren't good for me. And right around this time, almost simultaneously, I was introduced to my first mentor in my life, and I'm sure many of you guys know him, Mr. Tom Lepic. And if anybody knows Tom Lepic, you know he's a wrestling fanatic. He loves wrestling. And he got me hooked. And that feeling that I was looking for, that family feel, the camaraderie, everything that I was looking for when I got to Iowa City, I got it in wrestling. They embraced me. They didn't care where I was from. They didn't care how I talked. All that mattered is that I was on the team and they embraced me, and we one goal, to win. It doesn't matter your background. That's the beautiful thing about sports. It doesn't matter where you're from, what language you speak. We're all together to achieve one goal, and that's to win or work together as a team, whatever the result. I was hooked. This is what I've been missing. Running with these knuckleheads, yeah, it felt good, but not like this. So, 8th grade, I tried to go cold turkey, but yeah, I did slide back. I was still fighting a little bit here and there. And it wasn't until I got to Iowa City West, I met the second mentor in my life, a guy by the name of Reese Morgan. Reese Morgan just retired recently from the University of Iowa as one of the football coaches here. The stars aligned perfectly for Reese Morgan, the most prolific coach to me in the state of Iowa, happened to be my high school football coach at that moment when I needed somebody, a mentor, somebody to step in my life and steer me in the right direction. Divine intervention, call it what you want. Perfect timing is what I call it. This man took time out with me that a normal coach wouldn't take with an athlete. He pulled me to the side. He knew what my situation at home was like. He took extra time with me. He took me under his wing. He let me realize, he made me realize how great I could be, but still I didn't notice it. I didn't realize it in myself. Sophomore year in high school, Iowa City West, I had my breakout year in football. All this hoopla, I got a chance to play varsity my sophomore year, first team All-State. First and only sophomore ever in the state of Iowa to do it. I'm proud to say I still hold the record for that, but it was, yeah, so nobody's ever done that before me. But that being said, that's when I started to realize maybe I'm on to something here. And I despise being home so much that I put all of my energy into sports. I played 4 sports every year just so I wouldn't have to go home after school. I played soccer. I didn't know anything about soccer. But I played because I know if I went to soccer practice, I didn't have to go home. I didn't have to go home to my dad raising hell and an empty refrigerator or the lights being turned off. And everybody was saying, man, I want to be Carlos Honore. Look at, he's got the girls, he's got this, he's got that. But they didn't know what my situation really was. I didn't even want to be Carlos Honore. I didn't want to be me at that time. It was hell. But people saw all the accolades and they saw the attention that I was getting and they thought life was just hunky-dory. It wasn't that way. Junior year in high school, All-State again, first team All-State. And we won the state championship. The first state championship ever to be won at Iowa City West. I was on that team. I was a part of it. But I still didn't feel satisfied. I had one more year left. My senior year, I'm going to go out with a bang. I put all my time and energy into sports. At this point, I'm ready to move forward. But there was one hump in the road. My parents' drug abuse got so bad where they had to move to Alabama. I just had my breakout year. What do you mean we're going to move to Alabama? I have to go somewhere and reprove myself all over again. What if they already have a starting running back? I didn't want to go. The coaches at Iowa City West, they knew that if I left and went with my parents to Alabama, my future would have been bleak. I wouldn't have the supporting cast that I have here now because the teachers, the counselors, they all rallied around me at this point. You can be great. You can do great things. Telling me things that I've never heard in my life. I started to believe it. I started to believe I can be great. I can do great things. So now you're going to pull the rug from under me and take me somewhere else and I have to start all over again? No, I don't want to do it. I'm a child. I had no choice. But what happened, one of the coaches on the coaching staff, Ben Fincham, some of you may know him. Ben Fincham approached his parents and asked them if they would take me in, and I did, and they did. They let me move into their house. Their kids have been gone, graduated from high school for 10 years, and they're starting over with a black kid that they know nothing about. That's what it was. I moved in, I couldn't believe it, and all the stories that I heard about white people at that minute went out the window. I said, that's not true. What they're saying about white people is not true. And the light bulb went off. So they took me in and they embraced me. I was one of their kids. They took me to Europe. They took me to places that I would never, ever get the opportunity to see. They showed me how a successful marriage is supposed to operate. Never saw them raise their voice at each other. Never saw them fight one another. That's all I saw before I moved in with them. And I'll tell you, in my marriage today, I've been married 15 years, been married, and been with my wife 19 years. I use a lot of those lessons learned with them in my marriage. And my brothers, I have 2 older brothers that I mentioned earlier. They are not married to this day. They never got a chance to see that. They don't know how to have a successful relationship with a female because we never had a female in our life long enough to gain that relationship with. So they're scared to have kids, and because they're scared that the curse is going to repeat itself. I'm not about that. I've changed that generational curse in my family. I went to college. I went to Division I. The first person in my family to go Division I and play sports. And I love it. And I tell the kids that we work with all the time, anything is possible. You see me standing here in front of you, I should not be here, and I'm here. Anything is possible. Don't let anybody tell you because of your circumstances that's what you're going to be. Don't let anybody tell you that. I despise that, and I want them to as well. So, senior year in high school, playoffs, we lost to City High. Right. No, City High. But what made it easier is they went on and they won the state championship, so it was okay to lose to them because we lost to the state champs. But it's still City High. Graduate, I'm getting letters from schools all over the country. I mean, just overwhelming. I wanted to go to Miami, but I chose to go to the University of Iowa only because all the people that invested so much into Carlos Honore before I became the football star Carlos Honore, they deserve to see the fruits of their labor. They deserve to see me on Saturdays without traveling halfway across America to see me play. I wanted to make it easy on them. Come see me. This is for us. The community was just as much as part of me getting a scholarship and being a huge sports guy as the hard work that I put in. They deserve to see me play. So I chose to come to the University of Iowa. Once I got here, Tim Dwight, Tavian Banks, you guys remember those names, right? So I'm here, I'm the number 2, as a true freshman, I'm the number 2 running back on the depth chart behind Tavian Banks. They wanted me to play my redshirt year. I opted not to because I wanted to graduate before my 5th year. So I sat out. But if I wanted to play that year, I would have been on the field as a true freshman playing number 2 on the depth chart, just waiting for Tavian to graduate. 8 weeks into the football season. Well, let me backtrack, I missed something, hold up. So, senior year, graduating, getting ready to go to college. One thing that needs to be done before I get to college, and that's pass the ACT test. What's an ACT test? Nobody ever told me, what is that? Oh, that's the test you have to pass before you go to college? Nobody ever told me that. I'm a senior in high school. How come anybody ever told me about that? So now, I have to take this ACT test or I'm not going to go to college. First time I take it, I get a 14. Not good. Second time I take it, I got a 16. Better? Still no good. The third time I take it, back to a 14. Now, granted, I did party a little bit the night before that one, but still a 14. It's still a 14 any way you look at it. So, by this time, I had one more time to take the test. If I didn't pass the test this time, I would have to sit the season out or go to a junior college. I felt I was too good to go to a junior college. I buckled down, I studied the best that I knew how. Fourth time I took the test, I got a 23. Yes, I got a 23. And I did it on my own. I was proud of myself. Now I'm ready. Let's go. Iowa, bring it on. I'm in the city, working out. I'm enjoying life right now. All that hard work that I put in, all that blood, sweat, and tears, it paid off. It paid off in that moment. I could not have been happier. 8 weeks into the football season, the NCAA contacts the Iowa Hawkeyes and say, wait a minute, how did this guy jump from a 14 to a 23? What happened? So I'm under investigation now. The NCAA, they are investigating me for cheating on my ACT test. 8 weeks out of practice, I dropped from number 2 on the depth chart all the way to number 6. By the time they announced that, oh, there was nothing, he just took the test, he passed it. They took them 8 weeks to come to that conclusion. Why? So much hard work going into what I want to do. I dedicated my life to this moment, and you're going to take it away from me because I studied and did well on the test. I'll be honest with you guys, it took the wind out of me. All the passion, everything that I had that I put into it, it was gone. When they let me come back, it was never the same. I didn't love the game anymore. I did not care for football anymore. I lost my passion, so I left. I left Iowa. I said, to hell with this. You guys know me. I've been here since I was a little kid. You know, I've worked so hard. You guys know I wouldn't cheat on the test, but what's done is done. I went to Missouri, didn't work out. Went to a couple places, tried to go play for the Saints, blah, 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 didn't work out. I was done. Lost my passion for the game, but what I did not lose is my passion for the game. So, what I did was I took all those lessons that I learned and all those people that rallied around me and got me to the point to where I was, the learning disability that I had. My parents were hell-bent against putting me on medication because of the stigma associated with having a kid on medication. I took that and I implemented it into my program. And I said, we're going to get these kids the help early in life. These kids with these underlying issues, learning disabilities, behavior disorders, whatever it is, and these schools are labeling these kids as bad kids, that's not fair. We're going to take those kids and we're going to get them the help that they need. So when they get to high school and junior high school, they can read and they can comprehend, and their life moving forward will be so much easier. Their quality of life will be so much better. If we get them the help that they need now, by the time they get to high school, they won't want to drop out of high school because they don't get it. They won't act out in class because they don't understand. They don't want to get kicked out because it's their turn to read and they can't read. I've been there. I understand it. That's where the social work, the social service, and the case management comes into the Fifth Ward Saints. The Fifth Ward Saints is started as just a football team. Me paying it forward to the game that gave me so much. I wanted to use that same game to give back to the kids in Fifth Ward because they deserve it. They deserve somebody to reach back and pull them up like somebody did me. Why not use the same game that helped me to help somebody else? But I realized that football wasn't enough. And it came to me one night, literally, 2 o'clock in the morning. Knock at the door. I answered the door. One of our football players is standing there in the doorway. He's got his sister in his hand, and he's got a hammer in the other hand. I'm like, what's going on? It's 2 o'clock in the morning, you're at my door with a hammer. What is it? His mother was getting beat up by his stepdad. He didn't know what to do. And in that moment, I realized this kid came to my house first. He didn't call the police. He didn't call family members. He called the person that he knew he can trust the most. He came to my door for help. And I knew in that moment that I need to do more. Football is not enough. Because my story is not unique. The things that I've seen and experienced in my life is not unique to me. There's other kids in Iowa City. It doesn't matter black or white. It doesn't matter. People are experiencing the things that I experience on a day-to-day basis, and they need help. That's what we're here for. We don't just offer sports. I know people are saying, you know, sports is brutal, but we have ballet, we have arts, we have things for girls to trigger something in them that they may not have known that they're even interested in. We had chess club come out last week. Kids said, I don't want to play chess. 5 minutes into it, everybody's into it. Everybody's loving chess. They don't want to put it down and go home. But until you spark that one inkling of something to make them realize that they can be more and do more than what they do, what they see on a day-to-day basis. Get them outside of their box. Take them to places that they haven't gone before, like the Finches did me. Let me see what's outside of my box. Let me see how the normal society operates outside of this box, because what's going on in this box is not normal. So, let me go through my notes real quick. Make sure I don't miss anything. Actually, I'm going to wrap it up. So, in conclusion, I want you guys to really strongly consider giving your time to an organization. And if it's with my organization, I would love it. You know, it's what we do, and I'm kind of partial because it's mine. But it's very rewarding because you get to see the evolution of a kid coming in with anger issues. And he has an IEP that says that he's a problem only because he has anger issues. Instead of getting to the bottom of the problem and finding out why this kid has an anger issues, we're going to label him. That's not the right way to do it. Let's find out what's going on at home. We have case managers that go into the house and find out why is little Johnny acting the way that he's acting. The schools can't do that. I'm not knocking the schools, so we have a partnership with the school district. But they don't have the manpower to be able to go into these homes and find out why these kids are behaving the way that they're behaving and come up with a game plan to successfully help this kid navigate through life. You can't just label a kid and let them go on, and when they get to high school, they drop out. We're failing the kids. But I'm gonna get off that soapbox. I appreciate you guys letting me share my story. If you guys want to get involved, please see me afterwards. But thank you for your time.